Amanda here from Create Your Future. For those of you that are new here, my name's Amanda, and I am a neurolinguistic programming practitioner, hypnotherapist, EFT practitioner, and a certified life coach. So welcome to the channel. We talk about law of attraction, law of assumption. So let's dive into it today. I've got an exciting video. I'm going to answer some of your questions and, just generally talk about the law of assumption. Okay, I think the law of assumption is a way better description, for how I look at and explain how we manifest things in our life with our thoughts. Okay, so and guys, also too, if you would like any coaching, a lot of our coaches are having sales right now. In addition to, a lot of them are certified in life coaching, hypnotherapy, neurolinguistic programming. So definitely check it out on our website. They each have their bio, and it'll let you know what they are certified in, as well as the ones maybe that don't have the certification. They're all coaching according to how I do coaching in my coaching program. So regardless of which coach you do coaching with here, it'll be the same experience of what we provide in our coaching. We're going to help you find your blocks, change your story, and guide you, cheerlead you, right? And I believe in coaching. And the reason why I do believe in coaching is because it's like when you get a coach for something, like a personal trainer for fitness, they can let you know when your form isn't right, when you need to change your technique. And that's very much what we do here. We help you to, build your story, change your perspective, help you to decide how you want to, create and achieve your things. Now, I know in the past people have said, oh, law of assumption, manifesting, it's woo-woo. Well, it's not actually. I mean, for years, okay, psychologists have been talking about the power of positive thinking. And that's really all this is, right? And manifesting, living in the end is basically like making, smart goals, okay? Smart goals are pretty much the same as manifesting in steps, right? You have your main goal, maybe marrying your SP, and you work your way back. Okay, we're going to get engaged. We're going to move in together. We're going to start dating. I'm going to find somebody. So you go through your SMART goals. And that's the same thing as living in the end and manifesting, right? So you make sure that all your goals are actually in line, and all your thoughts are in line, thinking positive towards what you want. Okay. So before I dive into the questions we're going to answer, go ahead. Sorry, my eyes itchy. We have a free course, how to find your blocks, how to identify your blocks to manifest anything. The course is great. I've created the course, and it's going to help you dive into what your mental diet is. Because, for instance, let's say that you're manifesting a specific person, and if you're questioning why they're not calling you, why they don't like you, why they don't want a relationship, I mean, that's all blocking you. Okay, that is not thinking positive for your situation. Okay, so it's going to help you to build your mental diet, and when you build your mental diet and your thoughts are in line with what you want, because you got a clear goal, you're going to get there a whole lot faster. Okay. The other thing is, I do have a course, how to create the relationship you love, and it'll actually walk you through creating a mantra. And a mantra is what I used to basically, I don't know if you guys heard, the newer ones maybe haven't, but if you go back into my old videos, I did manifest my SP. He said no, he didn't want to move in with me on Sunday, and by Friday, okay, of me just, 5 days of using my mantra, every time I thought of the situation, he asked me to move in with him. And actually the funny thing is just this last weekend, we actually went back to the pub that we had lunch in the day that he asked me to move in with him. And we saw the table and everything by the fireplace, and it was really brought back this nostalgic feeling, because, oh my God, I think it's been at least 8 years now or something. So yeah, that was quite a while ago, but yeah, it was nice kind of reminiscing about that this weekend. So my course, How to Create the Relationship You Love, is on sale. It's going to help you to create a mantra, to build your own personalized mantra, because it's so incredibly important that when you have thoughts come up, you're prepared with your affirmations and your intentions for your mental diet. Okay. This is going to speed things up. Even if you don't have, your mental diet pre-prepared, it's okay. A negative thought comes up. All you need to do is to be aware of it and to change it. That's all you need to do. So for those of you out there that say, well, you know what, I don't know, I'm not listening to my thoughts, right? So if you right now would try this with me, okay? That voice in your head, okay, make it yell something, yell, good morning, how are you? Make it yell, okay? And now say the same thing, good morning, how are you, in a whisper in your head, okay? There you go. You've just controlled your thoughts, okay? So what you need to do is just listen to your thoughts throughout the day, okay? And become aware of them, okay? And the more that you become aware of them, the easier that this is going to be. Because, and then also, if you're not listening to your thoughts, you can listen to how you feel. Because, you know, if you're thinking, okay, we all know anxiety is like living in the future and not the present moment, okay? And so if you're living in the future and you've got anxiety, it's because you're worried about some future event and how it's going to go. Okay. But if you sat down and you went, okay, well, I remember this one time I was going to this networking event with Andrea and I was nervous and I did have anxiety and I had no idea why. And I sat down and I thought to myself, I'm like, why do I have anxiety over this? And I said, well, because, you know, I'm scared of what people are going to think about me, you know, and yeah, I mean, this is all going to be new people and I'm feeling self-conscious today. So then I sat down and I'm like, no, here's my new intentions. I intend people are going to love me, that they're going to talk to me. Everyone's going to crowd around me and ask me for a business card. I'm going to run out of them. And they're actually just going to start subscribing to the YouTube channel right there in front of me. And yeah, and I said, I intend to feel good and confident today and secure in who I am because I'm good enough. And, you know, I repeated this a few times and thought about it on the way to this networking event. And sure enough, I got there and that's exactly what played out. I ran out of business cards. People were signing up on the YouTube right in front of me saying how amazing, you know, law of assumption is and manifesting, and they're into it, right? And it was like, oh my goodness, like this is so awesome. So, you know, just taking a moment, you know, to check in with your feelings and say, okay, why am I feeling anxious about this when I think about this? And then identifying those thoughts and changing it, right? I mean, the other thing that you can do if you're not sure what, you know, your blocks are, is see what's manifesting back to you in your 3D. Because remember, your 3D reality is your previous thoughts. What has your specific person said? What did they tell you about getting the job? What did your friend say about going out on Friday night? Like, what showed up in your reality that you didn't like? Okay. You just take a look at it and you say, no, I don't want that. This is what I want next time. And then you select something different, right? So anyways, I also got a lot of affirmation tracks, how to get rid of your third party, how to get your ex back, how to manifest money. So definitely check them out. They're all on sale right now. I'm highly excited about that. They've really helped a lot of people. I love affirmation tracks because, you know, you can never say enough affirmations and positive intentions in your day. Trust me, trust me, trust me, trust me, trust me. And your day will be so much better when you're putting positive energy to it, right? And I think the other thing that I find really important to, like, you know, be present in the moment is to have integrity. Keep your word with yourself, okay? If you've got so many other things going on that, you know, you're not keeping your word and having integrity and moving through your life with integrity, and when you make a commitment, either sticking with it or decommitting rather than, you know, being late and this sort of thing, and not canceling or just not showing up. And so when we're doing those sorts of things, you know, we create a lot of chatter and chaos in our lives, right? So you want to practice being still, being calm, right? So if you do commit to something, have integrity and go through with it, or have integrity to decommit from it. Say, look, at, you know what, like it just happened today, actually. I told someone I would help them with something, and something physical. Anyways, yesterday I ended up like basically like deep cleaning my balcony. Anyway, I'm sore. I was totally sore today. And I was like, okay, you know what, I can't put this treadmill in a box. Like, I just can't do it today. Like, you know, my body needs a rest. Like, I am sore from yesterday. So I told the person, even though I said I would do it, I said, okay, I can't do it today, but I can do it in a day or two, right? So it's okay, you know, to decommit from something you've committed to. Okay. So this will give you confidence in yourself. Okay. You'll feel a lot better about yourself and a lot more confident about yourself when you're just moving through life, you know, and having integrity to commit or even decommit from something, and having that clear, open communication. Right. So, okay, let's dive into it. I don't know how I got off on that tangent. I did. Anyway, and it also helps you to be present in the present moment, you know, because, you know, for instance, like, I'll be honest, right? So this morning, you know, when I was talking to Andrea, I'm like, oh my goodness, you know, I said I would do this and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, what happens if they're upset? And I was just like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to say it. Like, you know, I'm just going to say it, you know, and I intend that they're going to be fine with it. And sure enough, I said it and they were fine with it. And they were like, oh yeah, no problem. I was like, oh my God, I'm like, that was so easy. Here I was fretting about it. So, you know, the sooner you do things and clear them off your plate, the sooner you can move on in your mind to something else and be present in the present moment, rather than, you know, creating all these anxious stories for yourself as well. Right. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of the times we're more scared of what the reaction could be than what actually happens. You know what I mean? So yeah, so here's a question. How to ignore the 3D and persist when you have a past of him ghosting and no contact with them? Can you please answer? Absolutely, I will. I think this is very common for a lot of people. Our free course that I mentioned, as well as my Create the Relationship You Love and the Get Rid of the Third Party Affirmation track would be great, to help you actually start getting, some new intentions, because I definitely cover, in the affirmation track, the no contact thing. And so basically, when it comes to manifesting, the only person that you need to convince of the new story is you. The only person you're changing is you, okay? I know I say everyone is you pushed out, and I describe it as people are puppets, right? But that's just my view of it. Like, you're just changing yourself and your assumptions and holding space and creating room for the other person to show up differently. Okay. And there's this magical thing about it. Now, I've never claimed to be like any quantum physics expert, but it is based in quantum physics. Okay. And there's like lots of news articles. If anyone has any doubts, definitely intend that you'll find like an article that explains it. Even if it isn't, okay, let's just go with this, you do need to believe that it's possible that your thoughts create. Okay. So that's the first thing, is you can't have any doubts and fight with yourself over, do my thoughts really create? Is this really real? So that's the first thing we don't want to do. Okay. Now you want to be able to start building your belief in the law of assumption, and how you're going to do that is you're going to create the little list of manifestations. Okay. Things that are just like, sort of off. Like for instance, you guys all know my fried chicken story. I intended I would manifest fried chicken. And sure enough, the guy I was dating, Andrea at the time, shows up with like half-eaten fried chicken lunch, right? It wasn't even about the chicken. It was just like, what are the odds? Like, because he knew I was making dinner, so he didn't go out and buy chicken for dinner. He had his leftover lunch and brought it over, and it just happened to offer it to me. And it was like, oh my goodness, like, wow. The other day I intended that people would bring me vegetables. My mom came over with a bunch of vegetables. So just these little things. In Canada, we've got this like, graduate license thing where you got to take 2 road tests. And I was like, okay, that's stupid. I don't want to do that. I'm like, I think we just have 1 road test. Sure enough, they've manifested away the second road test, it's like, we don't need to do it now. And it was like, oh my goodness. So, you start creating these things and build your belief in yourself and learn how you manifest. This is important, because the next step is you have to have a very short memory for the bad things they did to you. Okay. The quicker you forget and forgive, well, you don't have to forgive. The quicker you let go of the bad things. Okay. The quicker you let go of the bad things, then the quicker you're going to change the person. Because for you to change them, how they show up, you need to change how you're viewing them. You need to change your assumptions of them. Okay. So if you want them to contact you constantly and not ghost you, you cannot be aware of them ghosting you. Okay. Now, the reason why building your belief in this is so incredibly important is because you want to be able to say to yourself in your head, look, I know that this works. I know that this is true. Everyone is me pushed out. Thought transmission's a thing. Okay. I'm letting go of that old story of them ghosting and no contact. Okay. That was, they're not like that anymore. They're constantly in contact with me. Okay. And every time you think about them, okay, in the 3D, when you see that they're not there, you don't ignore the 3D. I think sometimes we say ignore, but what we really mean is acknowledge and acknowledge and change. Okay. And do a quick revision, which is called, a mental diet, on the spot rather than ignore. Okay. So you can react, that's fine. But we don't want to ignore. You can't just go, oh, it's not there, because just resisting it and ignoring it is creating it. Does that make sense? Because you're like, no, it's not there. Okay, well, it is there because you're saying it's not there. So you need to replace it with what you want. Okay. So when you notice he hasn't called, you're like, no, that's his old self. He always calls me. He wants to talk to me. Spend, time. What are you going to see, hear, and feel? What are you guys going to talk about? What does they text you about? What's all this conversation? Okay. So you're not ignoring the 3D. You're creating a mantra. Every time you think of your SP, you can say this one. You know what? My SP is constantly constantly texting me and calling me because I'm good enough, or WhatsApping, or whatever, however you want to talk to them, because I'm good enough. Okay. Because they want to talk to me, because they love communicating with me. It's funny, when I was working on the communication with me and Andrew, every morning I would message him, hey, good morning. How are you? Are you coming over later? Because I wanted to plan my day too. Like I didn't want to sit there like thinking, he's coming over and he's not. Like, we were dating. I have got friends too. And so every day I did that. And every day I intended that he would start texting me in the morning instead. And then all of a sudden one day I got busy and I couldn't text him, which was fine. And I was going about my day. And then all of a sudden he messaged me about like an hour after I would usually message him. And he was like, good morning. How are you? He's like, what are you doing later? And I was like, okay. So then he started messaging me all the time. And then, so I was playing with it a little bit more. And I was like, yeah, I'm driving down the road. I'm making these intentions. I'm like, yeah, he calls me for no reason. He's constantly sending me articles, So he would send me all these CNN articles. And then all of a sudden one day the phone rings. I'm driving in my car and I'm like, hey, what's up? And he was like, oh, nothing. I'm like, oh, why are you calling? He's like, for no reason. I was like, cool. Okay. We chatted for a bit and he got off the phone. So one of my affirmations is he just calls me for no reason. And sure enough, when I said, why are you calling me? And he was like, no reason. Like, exactly. Right. So you need to be solid in your belief. Okay. Now, if you're not going to be solid in your belief of law of assumption and that your thoughts create, you need to at least be solid in your belief of the possibility that he could change. Okay, or she can change and be in constant contact with you. And how you can do that is start, going through all the reasons why they are in constant contact with you. Now, so I would also dig deeper into the story, your question, to be honest, like, why are you guys in no contact? Why is he ghosting you? Are you guys in a friends with benefits or a situationship? Like, what is going on? What's the whole entire story? Was there a breakup? Is there a third party? Are they your ex? So what we do in coaching is we get into your story. We need to know how you created what you created in your reality. And the only way we know that is by talking to you and asking you, what thoughts have you had to create this? Like, here's a really good example. So back when I was doing coaching, I had this client, she comes in and she's like, yeah, you know what? She's like, he called me and everything manifested. He said he loved me and like that he wanted to marry me and that I was his woman. And I was like, oh my God, that's great. She's like, yeah, but then you know what? And I said, what? She's the next day, he's like, he just said it, what he didn't mean it. And I was like, what? I'm like, how'd you create that? And she's like, I don't know. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know? Okay. So I said, well, okay, let's go through. You had this call. Yeah, we had this call. And then what, after you got phone, what'd you think? And she was like, oh, I thought, well, he's drunk, so he doesn't mean it. There you go. So the next morning, that thought that she had, that whisper of a thought, had to show up the next morning. And it did. Yeah, I don't know how many of you guys have had that thought, like, oh, they were drunk, they didn't mean it. Like, wow, okay, they just basically, like, you got what you wanted. Now we say, oh, well, we just get sucked back into this 3D world and we think, oh, well, we just shredded our own manifestation, right? So, how did you create what's showing up in your 3D reality? What thoughts did you have, right? Because there's many different ways to create something in your reality. Like, for instance, I nearly created a third party. And it wasn't because I didn't think I was good enough, right? I just thought, my thought, well, you know what? Maybe he didn't call me one day. So I was like, oh, and I knew him and his ex were on and off. And I was like, well, maybe he wants to be back with his ex. Not because I wasn't good enough, just because, it was still a new relationship, and it was like, no. So like other people have created third parties because they don't feel like they're good enough. Or some people have created third parties because they have a story that their specific person's a player and doesn't want to settle down and commit. Like, there's so many ways, or it could be a combination of their stories. But I'm sure some of you guys have, if you listen to your thoughts and how, what thoughts you had to create your situation, I'm sure there's many different ways you could have created a third party, right? So, we all have different thoughts and beliefs from our previous experience, right? And that's usually how we create beliefs in our reality, is from repetition and our previous experience, okay? So one thing that I do, and I urge all of you guys to do, is like, especially in my relationship, one thing I will not allow in my relationship with Andrew is for us to go to bed angry and not talking. We need to resolve everything before we go to bed. We need to resolve it as quick as possible, because I don't want either of us to get comfortable being in a bad mood and fighting with each other. Okay. No, don't be comfortable with that. Right. So, in a relationship or any situation that you're in, whatever you're manifesting, if something bad happens, catch it right away. Change it right away. Don't let it repeat itself, because if it repeats itself, it becomes a belief. And if it becomes a long-term belief where something happens over and over and over again, and you have all this evidence pile up about it, see, he ghosted me. See, he ghosted me. See, he ghosted me. See, he ghosted me. Again, ghosted me. Happening for a year. Ghosted me again. Okay, it feels like it's not a lot harder, but it feels like that's a lot harder to change than if it's like, oh, he ghosted me once. Oh, you know what? He was just busy. He didn't really ghost me. And then boom, you're over it. It changes. Do you get what I'm saying? So, don't let yourself sit in these situations for long, okay? Especially like nip it in the bud. Is it the bud or the butt? I'm not sure, but catch it right away and change it, okay? Don't let things keep repeating themselves if you don't like that habit, okay? Do yourself that favor. But you know what? Even if you let it repeat for 5 years, who cares? It's not any harder to change. Tell yourself that. It doesn't matter if it's happened once or 20 times. It can change, okay? You need to believe that it's possible for the person to change, okay? You need to believe that. That is utmost important, okay? Now, let's tackle this. I mean, we create people, good and bad. At least I do in my reality. I'm like, oh, there's people that are good, there's people that are bad. Okay, that's fine. That's my belief, okay? So yeah, do bad people show up? Absolutely. Do good people show up? Absolutely. The thing is, right, is you don't have to change anybody, okay? So do I believe, okay, that I can absolutely change my belief of the world for no one bad to be in it? No, actually, I don't. Like, it's a little bit of a stretch. Maybe I need to work on that, but I mean, the question is, it comes down to, do you need to change everybody? And the answer is no, okay? If you don't think someone's going to change, you're going to prove yourself right. And it's okay. Just because we know law of assumption doesn't mean we need to be a doormat. Just because everyone is you pushed out doesn't mean you have to be a doormat, okay? First thing you need to do, especially if like the person has dumped you or whatever and you guys had a fight, you need to revise it, that they take responsibility for their part in it. They're sorry. They apologize to you. They want to get back together. Don't blame everything on yourself, because people are going to reflect that back to you and blame it on you. Okay. So now, if you don't think someone can change, then you don't. And that's okay. You don't need to change them. You can move on. Like, one of the coaches on the team here say, you know what, flip it or fire it. Okay. End of story. You don't need to be a doormat. You don't need to keep trying for something. You're allowed to create bad people and walk away from them. I remember I had this friend, and he would come over and he'd bring wine. It'd be all great. But he was so negative. He was constantly complaining. And honestly, like the life, I'd be sitting up, with the wine. And then all of a sudden, like by now, half an hour later, my head would be on the table and I'd just be like drained of all my energy. I'd be like, oh my God. I was like, is this what an energy vampire is? Like, I just couldn't be around him. So could I have manifested and changed my assumption of him to be more positive and enjoy my time with him? Absolutely. But did I? No, I just manifested a new friend, right? No big deal. So, you always have that choice. So please don't ever think, if you think somebody is a narcissist and you think they can change, well, the first thing I want to touch on narcissism is are they actually diagnosed, or are you just calling them a narcissist because of some of their behavior and you're not a licensed psychologist, right? But if you think that they can, change, then they can change. You know what I mean? So just like people that have, been having addictions, I mean, lots of people have had addictions, kicked it and changed, right? So you need to believe it's possible for the person to change. You need to hold that space for them. And when you hold that space for them and start, creating what your life's going to look like when they are changed and the reason why they are changed, or whatever, you're going to start seeing that come in. But you need to forget who the old person is really quickly and stop holding that image of them. Okay. Guys, I intend that this helps. I know we mashed a lot in here. I'm not even sure what I'm going to title this video, but I am so thankful that all of you guys are here. I intend that each and every one of you guys, manifest something wonderful. And guys, do me a favor, comment down below what your favorite affirmation is. My favorite affirmation is I intend to see all my thoughts manifest easily and effortlessly. I intend to see proof that everyone is me pushed out every single day. And I intend to feel encouraged, happy, and satisfied with everything in my life. So I'm so happy and grateful for you guys. Comment below the video if you have any questions or a video question for me. Okay. Anyways, we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.